Hi, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome back to Take It to the Bank podcast. This is the podcast for Wednesday, January the 7th. Hope all of y'all have had a wonderful, wonderful new year. It has been crazy around the Blue household. We've got new baby here. We've still not done Christmas. All kinds of stuff showing. Episodes are airing right now on the Outdoor Channel and World Fishing Network of Fishing University. This week, we have got Drew Boggs with us. Drew filmed the episode 2 on Lake Barkley when we filmed it, and we had a lot of fun. Drew's a really, really great guy. We're going to talk to him here in just a second. Really quickly, y'all check out this new hat we got. One of my best friends in the world, John Austin Wilkerson, grabbed one of these from Kentucky Lake Threads Company. Great friend of mine, Jordan Hartman, owns that brand, making some cool hats. And we got us a minnow shaking hat here. Got the rope, so like you're almost guaranteed to catch them when you got the rope. So let's bring Mr. Drew Boggs in and let's talk a little bit about the show that we aired and also talk about how to catch them in the wintertime around Middle Tennessee. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, Mr. Drew Boggs. Let's give him a big round of applause here.
Ben Bellagio, nice to be in the studio with you somewhat, even though it's via cell phone. I tried hard to come see you and baby Barrett. Congratulations on that sweet little baby boy, but the little bit of logistics kept me from getting there, so we're doing it via the phone.
Well, that happens sometimes. That happens sometimes. Glad you're able to join us. Had a big Christmas, big New Year's. Man, was going to try to do this thing yesterday on the last day of deer season, and I'll be darned if you just went and looked for a big buck, and he showed up right about the time you got down.
That close, yeah. You hunt till 11:20 in the morning. You think, well, that's good to get down. You get down, and there he goes running across the field, snorting at you like, "Hi, look at me, sucker." Yep. That's how I got to wind down the 2020. I'm going to relate that to 2025 and say that's not the mojo starting for 2026.
Yeah.
Because if it is, then we're starting off with a big old failure, like a big gut punch. Whenever I was like, if I had just sit in the stand 3 more minutes, possibly, that could have been all it would have taken. I mean, he was entering the field that I was hunting, so it was that close. And for me to say that I'm going to sit to 11:30 and then at 11:20, I get this urge to say, hey, I'm going to get down, go get some quick lunch, get dad, rendezvous real quick, and then get back in the stand by 1. And that was just a bad decision. So not sure why that happened, but time will tell.
Well, to tell you how my year started, on New Year's Eve, again, we've just had this baby. He's a couple of weeks old, and things have been crazy. I've not been fishing hardly at all. Not been duck hunting since the baby was here. So there's always a New Year's Day tournament on Percy Priest Lake. You and I fish a lot here just
That's
outside
right.
of Nashville. And this year there was a benefit tournament for a girl that had cancer. $1,000 to win. Gonna be a bunch of boats in it. We're gonna go have a big time. So, a friend of mine calls me, asked me if I want to fish. I said, "Yeah, I will go." I start getting my stuff ready about 7:30 or 8 o'clock on New Year's Eve, and I'm getting minnows situated and A rigs ready and jerk baits going and all this stuff. And I'm like,
stuff.
"Yeah, all the wintertime stuff." And I'm like, "What is that smell?" And I'm digging around in the boat, and I'm like, "God, it smells like a dead mouse or something. Like it's just death." And walk around in my shop, can't find anything. Go back to my battery compartment to check on my batteries. And I'm like, it's worse back here. I wonder if, a mouse has got down in here and couldn't get out or whatever. Now, what happened was we had been to a private lake in Alabama and had caught a 1-pound bluegill on a jerk bait about 3 weeks or a month ago. Big gill. And I had stuck it in my live well to basically show people on camera what, these bass that bluegill was too big for most of these bass to eat. And I had forgot it.
Bless your heart.
Dude, at 11:30 on New Year's.
Bless his heart, really.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, he'd been in there like 3 weeks. It'd been 70 degrees last week. Like,
Man.
I've got a pretty strong stomach, and I gagged twice when I opened my live well.
Mm.
So then I had to
Took a
clean it
big
out.
bite of it.
No. Then I had to clean it out, like, midnight or not midnight, but like 10:30, 11 on New Year's Eve. I'm washing my live wells out with vinegar.
Well, that's still 2025 though, still, I guess, right?
Technically.
Technically, yeah. So you
So
ended the year with a stink, with a stench.
I ended the year with a stink. Well, my battery won't work on my cranking battery's not working. Had a little issue with the charger. The charger was supposed to be there on Wednesday, New Year's Eve. It didn't show up. I go to hook my boat up that night before so I can pull it out and get my live wells washed out. The transmission acts up in my truck.
Thanks, huh?
Like I'm fighting it. So I get up and I'm going to call it. Like I never do this. I'm pretty doggone reliable. And I call a boy that I was going to fish with and I'm like, dude, I ain't going to make it. I was up till midnight last night. It's 4:30 right now. Like I just don't think I'm going to make it. And a great friend of mine, Alec Lancaster, he's like, dude, you can't start off the year getting whipped. Like
Challenging.
you can't start off the year like that and not go. I'm like,
Okay.
okay. Luckily, my wife's freaking awesome. So she's like, just go on, you'll be fine. So we get to the lake, battery's completely dead. We jump it off, leave my motor running the first hour of the day. As we're trying to take off, because we're running just dead on time, almost late, I'm trying to get my back compartment open to get my live jackets out. It's froze shut where I've dribbled some water over it from spraying out my
Cleaning.
live wells the
Yeah.
night before. I mean, dude, we just fought it. Just fought it all day. Didn't even catch a limit. Got our teeth kicked in, but we was there and we made it. We made it through.
So yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, maybe calling uncle when the snowball starts to build that big. But had you turned it around, went out and busted a bag after all that, which
Oh, yeah,
sometimes does happen, right?
yeah.
You're a complete wreck, and the next thing you know, you got a bag. That was like insult to injury to not even caught a limit. It sounds like, but you did persevere through that obstacles, I guess, through those obstacles, and end up fishing anyway on New Year's Day. So, what did it feel like out there on the lake? Temperature wise, water temperature wise, color, all that. Because I hadn't been out there since back in a long time ago.
So Percy Priest is a weird lake if nobody's ever been. It's it's a highland reservoir, but it almost sets up like a lowland. There's a bunch of shallow water, bunch of flats, still a bunch of rock, but it's kind of the most lowland looking highland reservoir you've ever fished or
Indeed.
vice versa. I never fished above a bridge. We were going to the lower end scoping, looking, throwing a rig, throwing a minnow, that kind of thing, and jerk bait and we caught quite a few fish. We just about 12 o'clock, we kind of figured out the deal that my buddy Alec had been on wasn't going to work. And I'm like, well, let's go run some stuff I know. Just couldn't get them to bite. Like they were there on bait, you know, round bluff ends, out in the middle, chasing roamers with a rig or a minnow, that kind of thing. And it just didn't work out.
Man, I know we kind of jump topics there from going about talking about the new year to not talking about that lake, but what you just did right there is what's dominated the majority of the lakes in the country, especially during the winter. But Percy Priest is a lake that normally in the past this time of year, if a man can catch 16 to 19 pounds, a good chance of winning. Anymore is taking 19 to 23, 24, and sometimes even bigger than that.
For sure.
But they're down there on that lower end where you was doing pretty much what I feel like you said you was doing. So I'm not sure, don't know exactly, but that's most people's assumptions anyway.
And you and I have kind of dove off into the scope, non-scope thing quite a bit. Told you about my cool new hat right
There it
here.
is. Well,
Got my mentor on there.
representing Jordan Hartman's cool dude, man. It's cool how he's trying to work his way up in the industry and working hard at it. And good fisherman too, and good dude.
He a great fisherman, great guy. Make some cool hats. Brandon
No
Cobb
roll
and I,
period. No roll period. No roll
no,
period.
we ain't no scoper. Ain't got the rope.
Right.
Um, but Brandon Cobb and I were having the conversation about scope, and we were talking about, why you can't get bit going and throwing a crankbait, or, going and throwing a trap or something like that, and why it doesn't work anymore. And he said, dude, it still works. You just can't compete with it.
Right.
Like at this, you can still go catch 16, 17 pounds cranking on Percy Priest, but it's going to get you a handshake and a nice job.
Yeah.
It's going to take 20 plus to win every single week in the wintertime.
Yeah, especially on those type of lakes that he fishes, we fish around here. That's right. I ain't saying there's not different caveats to that rule, but on a consensus, you can't compete on the traditional methods certain times of the year, especially.
And this is one of them times, I feel like.
I think winter time's one of those times. It is, and I mean, I'll just go back a few years ago, and you wouldn't even say that, but man, now that the people's figured out around here locally during the winter, oh man, it's just like, oh wow, we didn't know that these lakes could produce that type of weight, but there they are.
I mean, there's some boys dropped a 30 bag out of Percy Priest.
Stirred
Whoop.
didn't work.
Nah,
Yeah. Anyway, what'd you say? Some boys dropped some what?
I said they dropped a 30 bag out of Percy Priest last year.
Yeah, that's
That's
right. Which
insane.
we haven't seen that or even heard about that since I don't think since I've been fishing, which is 20, I think pushing 22 years now in this area. I don't think that I've seen that, but I've heard about prior to those years a couple 30-pound bags being weighed. But yeah, that's well, I didn't know that that still existed out there to be caught. And
Yeah,
then didn't they also have like 27 the week before, week after, or something like that?
yeah. We had me and John Austin Wilkerson had 22 and a half and got beat by 3 pounds by him.
Yeah. So there you go. And 22 and that's a big old bag, man. Normally that's winter.
I think it's the biggest bag I've ever weighed in, and was just tickled to have it. Like, we never had a great big one, and I
A
was like, oh well,
largemouth?
if we get all large, no, I take it. We had 2 smallmouth
Ooh, 2 big
or like
smallmouth.
4 pluses.
That's nice.
Yeah,
That's what we know.
yeah.
If we're gonna talk about
It was
priest a little bit, people need to know there's also a smallmouth in that lake, some big ones too.
100%. So let's back up just a tick. You've been fishing around a long time, 20 something years there. Kind of got started in the BFLs. My man has won what, 11 BFLs now, 10 or 11?
Yeah, I'm about 11 maybe this year, but 10 as of now.
10, 10 BFLs, has got a bunch of ABA wins. Fishing a pro circuit now, and you are a shallow water expert. Like, you don't like getting deeper than 8 feet, and 8 feet's pretty deep for you.
That's right. Yeah, Dad says anything that I do past 3 feet is like ledge fishing, you know. But that's what Dad tells everybody. But no, I don't mind fishing. You know, shallow is relative.
Of
It's very
course,
relative to what lake you're on and what the water color is. I mean, if you're fishing a clear lake, you can be fishing 8 to 12 foot, and that still be considered shallow. You know. So yeah, but I do try to always do that. That's just what gosh dang, man, we didn't have the technology when I started fishing. Coming out of the days of ponds and creeks, going to lakes as I got into my teenage years with my dad a little bit. Then baseball took over, college took over, girls took over. Not that I did never quit. I never quit fishing, but it was always more or less pond hopping, more or less.
of course.
And then you get to into baseball, and when I do what I do now, I get into the bass fishing at the tournament stage, and I was like, "Oh, dude, I really like this competitive nature. I've always loved fishing. Now you get to make money with fishing." Actually, I remember the first time that Dad and I won a tournament. We're fishing a Tennessee team event on Lake Wheeler, and I think we won like I'm probably wrong on this, but I think it was somewhere around $1,400 or might have been 2,400. I don't know. It was at the time when I split half that money, is the most money I'd had ever. And I was like, wow, I could pay cell phone bill, I can pay electric bill, I can do all this stuff. Let's go win the one next week. And dude, I just got this desire to help, really, to win, but also help me financially. Man, it paid a lot of bills for a long time at the very small level, hundreds here, hundreds there. When I come out of college, man, I was working $23,000 a year. Man, it's like $1,100 a month. They just really wasn't getting it cut with all the bills to pay. got focused on tournament fishing and then led into a passion of mine that I don't think that at any point in time I've ever laid down being and never stopped. And even in all the defeat and, me having to tell myself embrace the sucks, I've gone through plenty of it. I love competing at it. I love fishing, period, but I really love competing at it.
No, I do too. Like I'll go crappie fishing, go catch bluegills. Obviously, I caught one, left him in
Yeah,
left him
down
in there
under.
for a while. But like I like catching fish regardless. But the competition's kind of what trips my trigger too. Now, when did you quote unquote go pro? Like when was your first like pro level event?
Yeah, so man, that word, dude, pros, like for me, it was just I paid my entry fee, no sponsors, no requirements, no like work my way up. It was whenever the pro circuit changed to the invitationals, and they was making a lot of changes, and everything was kind of everybody's like on a checkup thing. I think it might have been around COVID or I don't know what else, but it seemed like a lot of people were falling out of the game. So the pro circuit just pretty much invited. Well, actually, the invitation was pretty much invited. It's about anybody that ever fished a major league fishing tournament. I mean, it was at the start of it. It was the Toyota Series qualifiers, and I just weren't filling it up. So I think that year I did fish the Toyota Series and had qualified for the championship. So I got the invite like on a regular basis. But I believe just for about the first 3 years of if you wanted to fish it, you can just pay your entry fee and fish it. So I appreciate it being called a pro, but for me, I'm just playing at a higher level. I'm still the weekend warrior. Don't consider myself a professional, although the IRS does something that I don't hear get talked about. Maybe we can catch on that a little bit. But anyway, so yeah, for me, it was 3 years ago, 2022, I think. It's 22 and 23. No, fished 23, 24, didn't fish 25, and I'm fishing again 26. See, a man just made that decision off of a couple decisions. My kids have gotten older, and they are at the stage where they're self sufficient. And when I leave and go for a week, they're not like, "Oh, Daddy, I miss you so much." They're just kind of doing their own thing. And the real estate market around here, after about 2022, started to slow down a little bit. Rates, of course, went through the roof, and just everything kind of checked up. And it seemed like to be a good timing for me to slow down a little bit on my construction side, and which would allow a lot more time for me to fish. I did it for those 2 years, and they met a lot of great people. Really fell in love with it, and took this year off, 25, in order to get back to work, basically, and realized how much I missed it. Realized how much I missed seeing new lakes, the excitement of being there. I missed the camaraderie of the dudes. Uh, I mean, I really like. I've always loved traveling and fishing, but doing it when it has that much weight, money wise, not just my cost weight, but what you could win weight, the return
Mm-hmm.
on the investment was just made everything mean more. And to kind of back up a little bit to us talking about competition, I've always compared tournament bass fishing, tournament days, the same to like when we were playing ball. Like it's when you hit a home run on a real game, it matters. It goes in the books. Like you've hit a home run. You can hit 10 of them the day before in practice, scrimmage game or whatever. It don't matter. There ain't nothing going down in the books. Those dudes might be like good hit, coach might be like good hit, but there's no stats that is involved with practice home runs. So when you go out and catch fish on a day in day out basis, it doesn't ever have the matter. It doesn't go into the books. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
count for anything. That's why it drives me to tournament fishing so much because everything counts. Everything matters. So when it goes to this pro level, now everything matters more. It's exaggerated. So that feeling gets me jacked up, man. That feeling of that one bass changing me from going home with $0 to $10,000. On the BFL level, at one time when we had a bunch of numbers, you could win 5 or 6,000 in the BFL.
Right.
Now you have, of course, you have the bonus incentives with the new boats that adds to that, but it still doesn't compare. I mean, you might could win 10, 12,000 with your bonus money and the BFL earnings in a BFL. That's what you can make just in 50th place at the pro circuit this year. So that excitement of knowing then you get a couple of them big fish. Now you're in contention to fish for 100 grand. Shoot, dude, this elevates the hurt and it elevates the good. Like when you lose a big one, it hurts that much more. And I dig that sometimes just as much as I do the good feeling of catching a big one.
I mean, you're sitting in the high roller room now is where you're at the
I guess
casino.
in reference to the tournament bass fishing, yeah.
Yeah, you in the high roller room. So
I
tell
don't.
me a little bit about how shallow water kind of became your deal.
Well, that background of creeks and ponds obviously helped. I mean, it wasn't like we was dragging a shell bar or a ledge or a grass line when you're fishing creek from the bank. So that just kind of gave that base knowledge. And then when we transferred, we being me and my buddies in our mid 20s, late 20s into just going to lakes here and there. I mean, we just had GPS come out. I mean, it was just in the beginning stages of anything with downscan, pretty much all 2D. So it wasn't like we were out there trying to go against the grain. It wasn't even really heard of as much, except for on certain like Tennessee River lakes and stuff. There were people were catching them out in the middle of the lakes. So never even tried to learn it. Never thought to try to learn it. It's not what people did to win around here on these lakes. So so this kind of came natural, man. It was just organic, more or less, from my upbringing to trying to catch them as it's where they live, and majority of the time, especially on like Old Hickory Lake around here, even on Percy Priest that we're talking about, you can find bass shallow, as long as that water temperature is over 45 degrees, 47 really, but especially over 50, you can catch them less than 6 7 foot of water
100%.
year round. Yeah, no, year round.
And that's like you said, that's really dependent on watercolor. And that's so I don't know if you know this, but you shaped who I am as a fisherman a lot when I was growing up, or not really growing up. I was grown, but you and I got to know each other at a tournament. I think it was the ABA Open Series that Brian New won
Yeah,
on
you follow.
Eufaula,
Oh man, what a fun week.
and you had taken a lot of my money up until that point. Fishing tournaments for 5 or 6 years, and we were sitting at dinner one night, and a bunch of us there, all kind of from the same area, had all met up. You and your dad and myself, Mr. Jeff Wheatley. There was quite a few of us, and we were sitting at dinner, and you had caught them that day, and I think I'd had 18. I think you'd had like 21 that day, and I asked you, I was like, "What did you see in practice that made you run back to those fish?" And you were like, "I've never really had anybody ask me that before. That's a really good
Mhm.
question." So you and I just kind of hit it off, and then got your number, and we started talking on the way back home. And I've you've been a great asset to me as far as being able to bounce stuff off of you, and especially before I really got into the scoping deal. I
That's
asked
right.
I asked you one time. I was like, "Dude, you're winning tournaments, and I'm right there, one fish out of the check." I tell people all the time I'm a very consistently mediocre fisherman.
Yeah.
Like,
It's easy to do in bass fishing.
it is. And I was like, "What makes Drew Boggs so good?" And you said, "I'm efficient." And it really hit home. You're like, "I make more casts than everybody else does. I make more flips than everybody else does. I'm more efficient covering water than a lot of other people are." And I'm like, "Well, that kind of changed my outlook on things too." And I taught myself to flip left-handed at that point because I could be more efficient going in and out with my left hand and never changing hands. But those couple of things, like, kinda changed who I was as a fisherman. You were talking about watercolor, and I didn't really know how important watercolor was, especially fishing shallow.
That's
But
right.
but, like, it's more important than temperature.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely it is. And I guess it's because they can hide, man, and everything, not just the bass, but I mean all the stuff that they're up there feeding on, crawfish and everything. When watercolors like that, I don't know how it all plays out with their vision. I don't. I mean, who knows that truly, really, or which fish, bait fish, whatever, work off the lateral line. I don't know about all that. However, when you got somewhat colored water, there's gonna be a lot more fish of all aspects in a shallower range. And maybe it's sun penetration. Like some people said in the past they ain't got eyelids. At the same time though, when they're during the spawn, they'll be up there right in the clearest water, right in the sun. So I don't know if that's any truth to that or not. It might be more truthful that when it's that clear water, they feel vulnerable. They being the bait fish, wild bass be anywhere other than where bait fish or crayfish or something is that they can eat.
That
They're
they
always
eat,
gonna be
yeah.
around forage.
Yeah, I try not to get too far away from a restaurant myself or a kitchen.
Yeah, color is important on that, man. But sometimes a whole lake has got color. So what do you do then? A lot of times color is important because it'll be the only area of a lake that has it. And that's like, that's the area that might have the most concentration of shallowfish. Talked to Michael Neal on Lake Eufaula, Oklahoma, there a couple years ago, and he drove up to me. He's like, "Man, this lake's right up your alley." And I thought to myself, "Yeah, maybe because it is dirty." But I said, "No, dude, I like it when 20% of the lake's dirty and 80% is clean.
Well,
Not when
you
80%,
get rid of
80%."
80% of the lake like that. You know
Yeah,
where you're going to fish.
that's right. Now we got 80% of the lake dirty and only 20% clean. And I was like, there ain't nothing getting dialed in for me, dude. It ain't shrinking. And that's, to that point, man. I know you asked a lot of questions. We talked about this before. I like to shrink a lake. I mean, I learned that primarily from Kentucky Lake because, good gosh, dude, I was overwhelmed when I first started fishing up there. I was like, where do you go? What do you do? And I just eliminated it to the dirtiest water arguably the dirtiest water on Kentucky Lake. And that's what I decided to learn. And it took me about 5 years to get my butt whooped before I ever did good. But once I kind of figured it out, I had a little, like a 5 year streak. And then every damn largemouth in the damn lake died, it seemed like. Everything changed. And this has been a circus since, but I'm hoping it's coming back. I know you've been going some. I think it is coming back. I hear.
100% it's coming back. The stocking that the counties have done that Charlie was really instrumental in putting together, putting pure Florida strains in that thing for the past 4 or 5, I think 5 years. This may be 6 years that we've been putting 250,000 Florida strains in that thing. And actually, instead of dumping them off at a boat ramp, we're taking them to the shallow waters in the backs of creeks, putting them in, you know, gator grass beds or putting them in bushes and all that good stuff where these things have a chance to live.
Smart.
It's it's really made the lake come back. The carp fishermen have helped the lake. There's still a lot of carp there, but it's not like it used to be when the entire back of a cove would be your graph would just completely black out. You
Right.
still see you still see a few, but it's better than it was. So Kentucky Lake's definitely on the return.
Well, I like that. I know we
Let's
can jump. So I'm good about jumping subjects on you. We'll damn go from talking about dirty water to Kentucky Lake. Um, with that said, yeah, dirty water is important. That's something I've always looked for, especially when it shrinks the lake. Water temperature, what time of the year, man, like going over to Percy Priest. We talked about that earlier. Like if you go over there right now and there is no watercolor except for the very upper ends, just a little bit of stain, then that's where I'm going to focus. But then if you ain't got wind, they're going to be instead of 1 to 3 feet, they're going to be in 3 to 6 feet. But if you do got wind, even just 5 to 10 mile an hour chop, they're like, I'm going to throw more of the L-bill, shad trap, the rattle trap, the jig right up around the bank and catch those ones that are up there actively feeding. For whatever reason, on that lake particular, if that wind blows a little bit in any colored water, those little minnows get just right up there shallow. That's why you hear about people in January, February catching them on a buzz bait up in nothing on that lake because those minnows are up there. And I've caught them so shallow, Daniel and I have, that I mean, you hit the bank, take 2 cranks, and they load up on it, and it's wild. But that's what makes that lake special. You can catch them shallow. I don't know that people across the country can apply that to certain lakes. Now, if you go there and that whole thing's clear from one end to the other, that shallow is going to be me being parallel to a bluff of some sort, pitching a jig or cranking a DT6. So bank oriented, but it's not going to be necessarily shallow because the water's going to be clear. And sometimes without rain, that water will clear up the whole lake with.
No doubt, no doubt. You know, the when I was out there the other day, and guys, you can apply this. You were talking about where you can apply this. To me, you can apply this to any highland reservoir. To me, Oklahoma, Arkansas, those lakes out there, they have some highland reservoirs. They fish a lot like the lakes here. I've never been on Eufaula, but to me, I've never been on Grand, but I
No,
think
yeah.
Grand would fit pretty well with
Grants,
what we
no,
do.
man. Yeah. Grants the deal. I love it.
A lot of those lakes in that area fish a lot like they do here. I think it's part of it's because we're on the same longitude. Is that right? Or is it
Maybe.
latitude?
Yeah. I'll be
Which,
longitude. Yeah.
yeah, I think it long. Yeah.
Longitude. Yeah.
Longitude line there,
Yeah. Yeah.
kind of middle of the country. But any highland reservoir, you know, people go to Dale Holla, and you've won a lot of money at Dale Holla against the scopers going and fishing shallow and finding
Well,
dirty water.
this would be true about this pre-scoping, man.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, I was kind of getting. I have get cashed a couple checks since the scoping days, catching them those school ways, but it's what would be a normal top 10 was now catching the last check. It might be 25th place, 35th place, whatever, depending on the boat numbers. Now it's changed a bunch, man. You know, we keep going to it. Now I want to give my 2 cents on scoping before we get past and talking about anything else.
all right, let's hear it.
Not a hater, although I don't think it's the game. I don't think it's the game we started playing. It's the game that's been around forever. I think it's a completely different game. And I think that there's room for that game at different levels. And I think that organizations are kind of doing that now. Finally, they're recognizing, hey, we're going to stick to this. We're going to fully eliminate it, or we're going to give you a partial. What you could use it some. You know, MLF you can use it some. And NPFL's gone. Bash you still full range with it, just limited on how many transducers and how many inches of screen you can have. So
Well,
it's
bass
not.
actually on the opens and the elites this year, you can only use it in half the tournament.
No, oh, that's right. I forgot. They did that voting thing. That's right. So it's getting restricted all the way across the board. So why is that happening? Well, I mean, I thought by now you'd already have state and federal and get involved with it, with the ways people can manipulate it and abuse it, especially in other type fishing than the bass. But with bass fishing itself and that technology, for all those years of us putting together patterns and I guess memories and data and just packing it in by using time on the water to figure out when the fish would leave the sanctuary that maybe people didn't think they lived in. I always knew they lived in the middle, somewhere out there. And then they would come to a bank. They would move up and or move to a ledge, move to a brush pile, move up here for whatever reason. Could it be feeding? Could be spawning. It could be they just want to get better oxygen level, whatever it might be. You would put together all this data to create faith in what you're doing without any direct data like the scope to be able to see exactly. You just had to have faith and you had to collect the evidence back from the bites or the lack of bites. And that to me is fishing. To be know exactly, you can you have 45 brush piles marked or points or whatever you like and pull up to them and know if you even got to make a cast, man. Or you maybe make one and nothing runs out of it. You even got to make another cast. That to me, even though it's still casting, that's still not that's no there's no faith in that. There's no it's eliminating it. It's eliminating the intimacy of learning the information that comes from a bite or lack of a bite. There might have
I
been a brush pile full of fish and you make 10 casts on it and you don't get a bite. Well, in your mind, there ain't no fish in that brush pile. But they're there. They just didn't bite then. So when you know that, and that eliminates all those question marks and curiosities. I mean, I went to one of my most special places the other day that I've always fished on Del Holland. I took my son up there for his first trip to the famous Del Holland Lake. Dude, I made a big deal out of it because I want him to be excited about it. And it is famous, and it is a special place to catch smallmouth. You know it is. And I went to the one of the best places I've always caught them, and made a couple casts without a bite. And I was like, well, hell, I got this four face in here. Turned it on, shined it over. There wasn't no fish. I'd have fished that bank or that stretch, that point, whatever you want to call it. I'd have fished it for 30, 40 minutes knowing how good that was. With confidence on every cast that one's looking at it. Come on and get it. I know you're out here. I know you're out here. That's the faith. I looked at it and I was like, well, let's not just pull the trolling motor. We're leaving. And that talking about maximum efficiency, that's maximum efficiency. So that's one of the things to me that's made it like come tournament time where I'm not a hater of it. Now, I
It
don't
makes
think
you
it's,
more efficient.
it makes you more efficient. You don't have to waste near as much time on stuff anymore.
Tell
So,
I tell everybody I do an electronics trip with, and I've done 15 or 20 of them probably, where I'm teaching people how to use it. I tell everybody I'm doing an electronics trip with, when you first get it, don't use it to try to catch fish. Use it to tell you where fish ain't.
yeah, that's a good
Like
way.
like if you're looking around and there's no bait and there's nothing swimming around down there, they're not there.
They're
Go
not there.
somewhere else.
That's
Right
right.
then. There
Yeah.
ain't no reason to go to the next,
Yeah.
go 100 yards.
That's exactly right. And it's almost dummy proof, man. It's that easy to know if they are or not. Now, that's some people that say they suck to the bottom. You can't see them, man. I tell you what, the way you got mine set up, did you help me
I
set mine up?
I
I
can
didn't
see
see
them
them
on the
on the
bottom.
bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah. I mean, man, I can't say they won't mix into a stump or something where you can't see it, or a rock pile where you can't see them. But all it takes is one cast. Anywhere around them, they're going to move, and you're going to know if they're there. So that's maximum efficiency with maximum data with maximum return on it, and it's immediate, it's instant, and it's awesome tool. It's one of the most amazing things that's ever existed. I fully feel like it doesn't belong in the sport. Period. At the same time, that ain't my decision to make that. And if it's going to be in the future of our sport, I'm gonna use it as a tool for that efficiency reason. I'm gonna use it when I can and how I can. Not necessarily to catch them floaters. I probably still won't mess with them out there in the sanctuary where they don't need to be messed with that much, but they are.
Well,
But I
and
probably
that's
capitalize it on the rock piles, the brush piles, the stumps that I know is there, and I have to normally throw 10, 15 casts on my waypoint to ever fill it. Then get my triangulation lined up. Now it's going to be like, oh, there's the stump. Make one cast and you're throwing on it. So I will utilize it shallow. And once I realized that Garmin was so good at recognizing cover less than 8 foot of water, I started with that Lowrance and it was a little different. I mean, you can see every limb, you can see the cypress knees, you can see every little single thing and tell exactly what it is on that Garmin. Yeah, I'm gonna have to apply it when I need to. Think about it. I'm going to Santee Cooper this year, right? There's a million cypress trees. Well, we're restricted to 3 hours using it during the tournament, but I don't think we're restricted at all in practice. I haven't
no,
read the rules to
you're
confirm
not.
it. Well, I mean, why am I going to throw cast at all these thousands of cypress trees? I'm going to roll by them with the thing and see if I can throw a cast by them. If I see a fish come out, I'm going to reel my stuff in and mark it. Bam. You know what I mean? Like,
Have
I ain't
you
got it.
have
You
you
ain't got
caught
to necessarily
one?
get the bite anymore, dude. It's not even like, I don't know. That's why I don't believe it belongs, but here it is. So I'm going to use it if I can, if it's there.
Have you caught one flipping with it yet?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, well, let's take it. Let me think about this. Would you consider flipping a Cinco flipping?
I mean, yeah, depending on where you're at, depending on if you're flipping or not. Like, I've caught one in 3 feet of water in a tree that I flipped to the left side of the tree and he didn't move. And I shined just a little bit to the right. And I'm like, oh, there he is. And I flipped a jig over there and caught him out of that tree in 3 feet of water.
Is that right? No,
Like,
I can't say that I've done that. I'm thinking hard, and I ain't done that. That's pretty cool.
dude, it's
Now I have
that
on stumps now. Now I have on stump where I pitched over the stump. I didn't necessarily see the fish, but as soon as it fell off of the stump, I'd seen him streak out there and thump. I've done that several times, but it wasn't because I seen it. I just pitched at the target.
right. No,
But now I did up at Lake Champlain that 2 years ago locate some bedding fish. And when I went back to those smallmouths, they were only in like 3, 4 foot of water, really shallow for that lake. The water was so choppy I couldn't see them. So I just got about where they were, power pole down, and was using my scope. And I made like 3 or 4 casts until I seen it come up. And I was like, well, there's the bed. So I just power pole down, never moved the trolling motor again. It was pointed at the bed, and I pitched that Cinco over there until I caught it.
I'm
I
gonna have
did it
to get.
like I did it 4 times that morning for a total of about, I don't know, I think I had like 12 pounds, which is nothing on that lake. But it was really cool to go to those fish and not be able to see them, and then real quickly be able to find them on the unit and know right where that bed was. And because I was pulled down, I mean, not have to move nothing. It's just you just watch them get it, pester them through the scope without even having to see them at all.
I'm gonna have to get you a hat with a rope on it. Get you a scoper
Oh,
hat
dude,
now,
yeah, I don't know about it, man. I'm gonna damn the long. You missing the long hair though. I don't think the rope is cool if you don't have the sweep coming out.
dude.
You got
I've
you
had
got
it
to have the
before.
little whips.
I've had it before. It gets long. My hat won't stay on. It kind of pisses me off. So,
Yes, you-
well, let's
yeah.
let's dive into on a lake like Percy Priest,
Mhm.
a Highland reservoir. What are you looking for this time of year to go find? And I'll pull up a map here. Let me see if I can do that. Cheers.
While you're doing that, man, questions, and I get asked questions often, and I have to almost always start them out with this right here. It all depends on the conditions. I mean, from how cold it is to how warm it is, to what wind direction it is, to what time of year it is. I mean, there's so many factors that apply that I think is real bass fishing and my decisions that I make that may or may not apply with the scoping thing. So if you got a bunch of people listening to this podcast that they're what they're going to looking to do is go put that trolling motor down and find them, man, this probably ain't going to help them a whole lot because that's all my knowledge, of how to fish is it come from what man Daniel called real fishing.
Well,
But
let's just take my exact situation on New Year's Day because I was at Percy Priest. Water temperature was started off that morning at 46, got to 48 as the day went on, had a north wind of about 10, or excuse me, about 5, just kind of light, a little bit of north wind, kind of sunny. We had just got out of a cold front. It had been 70 degrees last week at water temperature, got up in the mid 50s and had dropped quite a bit. Water was dirty, everything above the bridge. So up in this area that we're looking at right here around Hong Kong Island, this is kind of the mid lake area. Right here's the bridge I was talking about. Everything up here was a little bit stained, a foot, maybe a visibility, something like that. So let's talk about what some things that you look for this time of year.
all right, so we're going to say that there's no practice whatsoever. I'm just pulling out there. I'm going to be in that mid lake area that you're looking at, and I'm going to do it with the conditions that you just showed me. So you said we got a north wind, right? Well, I know that reservoir lakes and the way I like to fish, typically wind is your friend. So I'm going to be looking at all that stuff that's more to the south, more that's just anything that's getting that wind hitting on it, versus anything protected. I won't fish the protected stuff unless it's too windy or they're spawning. You know what I
Okay.
mean? But in this,
Yep.
in this condition where you being there in January, that's not happening, obviously. So that area of the lake, I'm gonna go to the windy stuff and I'm gonna start out as shallow as I can fish, and I'm gonna work out until I get some bites, a couple bites. Work out in depth, that means. So I'm probably gonna start by throwing a shallow crankbait, shad rap, square bill, L bill, something of that nature. I always like balsa when the water temperatures especially in the 40s.
The L
Uh,
bill is a Percy Priest old school deal that not a lot of people know.
yeah, it's just something you can throw it's super shallow, and those fish on this lake get up in those like veins in the rocks and the cracks in the rocks, and I don't know if they're feeding on crawfish up there, but I told you we see those little bait that gets up there a lot with the wind blowing. So the sun obviously makes it better, in my opinion, this time of year. Afternoons are better. Everybody I think knows that fishes in the winter. When the sun heats everything up a little bit. But I can't zoom in on your screen right there, but I would probably start on that high spot that you're looking at right there. That one right there. I'd probably start with a rattle trap and a shadow wrap down that high spot with that north wind hitting it.
Okay.
And you
So
could that's
wind's coming in here. We've got a little bit of
yeah,
color. Water's in the upper 40s. And you're starting like right now, a lot of this is going to be out of the water. This
yes, sir.
lake's down about 6 feet.
That's right. Yeah. All that's out of the water right now. Like that. Yes. So I would
So
start
are
around
you
probably
looking?
on that point.
So right here on this point, we've got a steeper side on this side. You can tell where the
Mm-hmm.
the contour lines are a little closer, and then we've
Yep.
got a flatter side on this side. Are you going to start on the steeper side, or are you going on the
I'm
flatter
gonna I'm
side?
gonna start on the steeper side because I know that spot. I know what I've caught on that steeper side. Of course, as you come down, I can't see it because of my little image, but it really flattens out down there.
Yep.
Uh,
Towards going a little
Dead
bit
end, and
farther
then there's
south. Yep.
little indentions and little points to run out. It's just like big chunk rock and big cracks in the rock. So yeah, you actually fish that shallow, even though you're sitting, in the neighborhood of 4.5 to 6.5 feet. You can throw them right up to the dry land. Basically, you would call it. That's out of the water. That mapping again doesn't look like that's out of the water, but all that is out of the water. Right?
Yep. Yep. Everything blue pretty much is going to be out
Yeah.
of the water right
And then
now.
that's going to give me an indicator of if you're getting the bite up in the cracks or if you're getting the bite out here closer to the boat. So that gives me a depth thing. And then if I don't get any bites at all, I'm going to hook right around that point and get in that little pocket that you're talking about.
Right here.
Yep. Because, come on, yeah, that right there. Yep. Just all where that right there, all that winds get caught up in there. So that's why I was to find the minnows is in those little pockets or little hooks, where they get blown up in it really. And I'm not sure if they truly get blown up in it. Everybody says that, but I think they go in there to feed on the plankton and stuff that's getting moved around. And
Yeah.
those little pockets and And
So even something like this right here,
yeah,
which
oh
is on
yeah,
the other side of the island,
yeah, if you
those
zoom in a
little
little bit more, yeah,
those little pockets and hooks there.
that's little hooks. Yeah, absolutely. Again, that's probably out of the water right there. Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly what I look for and to find the minnows. And then if I fished a couple hours of that early with no bites, then I'm probably gonna go to the Series 7 Shad Rap, or the what they call it, the number 7. And you pull out there in front of the Hong Kong. Ain't that the dinner table out there in front of it? They call it
Right in
the
here.
island.
Yep.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, I fish around those points of that with like maybe you can fish a rattle trap from. Golly, I love a rattle trap on this time of year, but or a lipless crankbait. You can fish it from 0 foot to 12 foot, just a matter of how slow you reel it and how you yo-yo it. So I like fishing deeper with that. And then if I had a partner, whatever, you throw a DT6 or that Series 7 or number 7 Shad Rap, and just getting something a little deeper. It's been no 47-degree water, but in the big picture, probably knowing this lake, being Bellagio, I'd have my butt on up the lake fishing about 53-degree water. If it's 47 right there, you're
So
gonna
you
come on up the lake, you get above Fate Sanders, up around Spring Creek, Fall Creek, and
okay.
you're
So
gonna be in the low
that's
50s.
in this area up here. It's always going to be
Absolutely.
warmer at the upper end of the lake, provided you've not had a cold rain.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And because there's springs that feed those, even with the cold rain, it just only takes like a day because those springs boil out, 60-degree water all the time. So, I mean, that's that. I know it gets crowded up there. A lot of crappie fishermen, a lot of bank fishermen, a lot of people get up on that upper end of that area. But for me, I'm going to choose to fish that 50 to 53-degree water over that 47. Now, if it's 50 down there around Hong Kong, oh gosh, I'm digging it, especially with some color. All that around middle of the lake, Four Corners, Hong Kong area. If it's got a little color down there, I'll probably stay down there. I feel like the bigger fish on this lake, I think it's getting proven over and over again. The bigger fish live the middle to lower end. And, this lake, people that don't know it, is, well, what would you say, 35 miles from the upper river to the dam? Like,
Maybe.
on up in the rivers.
Yeah, I think it's like 27, 28,
20,
something like it's not you can run from one end to the other in 20
and
or 30 minutes if you need to.
yeah, so it's not a real long lake, but almost all the big tournaments go out of the upper middle part, which is something called Fate Sanders Marina. And so those big fish get turned loose there every weekend, multiple times a week. Yet they all keep coming from down lake. That whole area would be full of all the biggest fish in the lake, including the smallmouth, if they didn't swim back down there.
So are you good with fishing creeks this time of year in the winter versus staying main lake, or do you try to stay
Yeah,
main lake?
absolutely. Mm-hmm.
Well, let's
Yeah.
break down this creek right here.
Is that fall?
This is fall.
Yeah.
Great creek, got some springs in it. Again, everything that you're seeing right here in blue is going to be completely out of the water. This is going to be out of the water.
That's about as far as you can go somewhere right in there.
Yeah, you really can't go much farther than this flat right here. So, let's say we start from right here coming out. What are some things that stick out to you that you're looking for?
Well, man, knowing Fall Creek this time of year, Fall Creek's extremely flat except for the channel. It's not the best one to talk about, to be honest with you, between you and I, just because of how flat it is. You can't even fish the majority of that creek.
Okay, you want to look at spring? Would that be better?
Well, we can talk about Fall real quick, but like that channel swing that you just came by, that very first one where they all
This one?
meet right there.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean I fished that. I fished that for years, man. Just run a shadow up or jig down through that thing. You'll see if they're in there. Then you get back to the next channel swing, you can catch them on the A rig and jerkbait jig, shadow wrap with that one right there. I mean, that's that. I mean, I'll just start right up on those swings, to be honest with you, just because how flat it is. A lot of times you just turn your trolling motor up trying to fish any of the flat stuff. But that tells me if they're in there or not. So if you catch them in those swings right there, then I'll get out into the middle part where I can and fish those high spots of rock. That mapping just doesn't truly show what that looks like right there, man,
Right.
and
Right.
how flat it is. I mean, and all the rocks they're exposed. Right now, there's only like 2 foot of water in the majority of that thing, except for the channel.
So you're looking, and that seems to be a common theme among guys that really know what they're doing, is they're looking for places that these contour lines get tight, steeper places that these fish can kind of ease up, ease down. Now they
That's
may
right.
be Like if you look at this point right here where I just dropped the dot, you know, you get to right here, all that's pretty flat.
That's right.
Now they may be on the corner of it where it gets flat. They may have moved up here in the flatter spot. They may not be right here on just this exact little point, but they're going to be somewhere in this area. That's a 200-yard area that you can cover pretty quickly and kind of figure out where they're at. And then you can go run that pattern, in the next creek down or the next creek up or
That's right.
wherever you want to go. But
I think those creeks, knowing those 2 creeks right there, for me, you can always catch fish in them, like always. But like in order to do well in the tournament, you're gonna kind of know it pretty quick if the good ones are in there. If you fish, an hour in each of those creeks, fall in spring, and you've only caught a few little guys, then I'm probably just gonna head on back down.
gotcha.
But I mean, you can roll through there, and I mean, catch the 2.5 to 4.5 pounders. They're just not as common.
The kinds that
Yeah,
you're looking for.
that's right.
Well, let's talk a little bit about the show that let's change gears again here. Let's talk a little bit about the show that we filmed. We were
Wait,
first part of June on Lake Barkley. Now, this was the exact days. This was the first we fished the first 2 days that the BPT was coming out of Kentucky Dam.
that's right. Which a
And
lot of guys came over there.
quite a few guys came over. I know Andy Montgomery he top 10 that thing fishing some marinas on the north end of Barkley. They were kind of they had to stop at the Paris Bridge, the 79 bridge on Dover there. So
Over, yeah.
with us both having a bunch of friends in that and knowing how it is with local pressure, we tried our best to stay away from that.
Well, we did. We stayed fully away from it.
We
We stayed
did.
away from all the fish.
Now
Not all of them. There was a lot of them.
it ended up being a lot of fun. Like what the TV show don't show that you guys can watch this week is the fact that it was raining solid. Like we were fishing, we had a umbrella set up over a camera guy. Now
Yeah.
we didn't catch a lot of them in the rain, but like it was just scattered showers coming through completely. Um, what we went into a place and found some pads. And like that's
Yeah.
something that I'd never really looked for on Barkley. Didn't know they were there, but I'd not fished that south end that much. But you're like, let's go back here. There used to be some pads back here about 10 years ago.
Yeah, we
And
got back there and caught it. What we said something about, it's like looked like Florida was trying to say,
yeah,
for Lakely or
Flarkley.
Baridia.
Flarkley.
There it is. But anyway, yes, there's a few areas like that on South Barkley, man, where it gets way more. I mean, there's been some hyacinths, I think, in the past, lily pads, buck bushes to get. I don't know. There's always buck bushes. There's more like on the big flats in the back of those pockets and creeks. I mean, farther south than we went, it gets even sexier than what we saw. But yeah, it's pretty cool to pull in there. Those pads still there and caught a couple good ones out of it. I think if we'd had more time, could have caught some more probably.
For sure. For sure. Now it was a really, really cool day and I had learned a bunch. One thing that I really learned from you from being in the boat with you, we filmed a couple of shows now, is especially like this is your deal. This is what you're great at is flipping and pitching and shallow water stuff. And where most guys go down a bank and they flip the edges of stuff. What I learned a lot is you get back in there.
Yeah.
You don't flip the edges. Did I lose you?
Turn on reactions, use hand gesture to send reactions during a video call.
There we go. We back.
That's some kind of notification on your app here about
I don't
some.
know.
Said move my hands or something.
Don't know what to do with my hands.
Don't know what to do. Yeah.
But you like getting back into stuff. And that was a key for us catching some of these fish is like we flipped around the outside of the pads and really didn't get a bite. But once we barreled up through the middle of them, trolling motor cutting shit up and stuff flying everywhere and that kind of thing. Like that's how we caught some more fish.
That's right. I mean, and to that, getting back behind stuff, I thought you were going more toward the where I pitch when we're doing, down a row of bushes, especially when I was behind you, like the places that I was getting over into. And I've learned that through fishing with Daniel and a couple other buddies that are also good at shallow water. Man, Daniel's gonna hit all the high percentage stuff, man. And Daniel John. He's my team partner and has been for many, many years. And we fished a lot of life and won a lot of money together. I love fishing with him. But he's gonna hit the high percentage stuff. That's what he got the confidence in. He's gonna do it fast and make money. Maybe I've learned behind him, dude. I'm gonna create a bite or two getting deep in that stuff throughout the day. Let him go ahead and catch the obvious ones. A lot of times the better ones, but I'm gonna wrangle a couple to get him my bait in places that just people just don't even try to. Whether it's over trees, behind trees, it's like swinging your bait where it gets in behind something. A lot of different angles and places you can put a bait. And getting deep into the lily pads or getting deep into the back of a creek or getting deep in the back of a milfoil patch, I do like to try to do that just because it's harder. It takes more work. It's harder on your boat. It's harder on your equipment. It takes more time. So therefore, I feel like people probably might not do that.
And it's all about getting your bait in places that other people ain't going. I mean, everybody
I mean,
says that forever,
yeah.
but until you realize what that means, that you're flipping on a dead tree that's 20 feet behind a bush, and then you get barked. You know, you run your line right beside it, and you get hung up in it, and then you've got to go in and get your bait, or you're breaking stuff off. Like it's
You
a
gotta be prepared to break stuff off for sure doing that. You have to, yeah. And I don't like it, especially with the 25-pound line or the solid breakage. You really can't break it. You just gotta cut it most of the times. Yeah.
but stuff like that, some stuff that people I feel like can really learn is especially on pressure fisheries, and I feel like all of them are at this point. Like there's very few places that you go that they don't get pressured. Like now
No,
they're
very
all
few.
getting pressured.
Yeah.
If you can get your bait in some places behind docks or in the back of a back of a slip versus flipping the front of it,
Not even just
that
the back of it, but like sliding between a crack and the floats, just like that to get underneath in that shade spot, right? Not just, oh, I just stood up against the float. You gotta get up in there. And every now and then you get hung a lot doing it because you don't know what's up in the dark spots or up in behind stuff, or you get those angles where you can't pop it off. But it's part of it. Yeah, I don't mind losing the hooker and weight to
or
try to catch
scratching a
one.
boat.
Yeah, we're catching five, man. We're weighing in five fish. So 8 hours, 7 hours, whatever it is, depending on your day length. And that's why I don't think I would ever fit well with every fish counts. There's been some days that would be really cool in my fishing career, but most of the times, it's the 5 to 10 bite days that gets you to where I try to do it. How do you hunt bigger fish? Because that's what wins you money. All thing I do is you get the data from catching bigger fish in practice, or you go to the places where you caught them in the past. Going to lakes you haven't been to before, trying to pull up to I'm fishing the big fish spots. I don't know. I mean, I don't know how you even do that without data. Or you just drop your scope, by gosh, and find big dots.
Well, guys,
I've talked a lot of negative about that scope. I want to mention one thing that I think that I really like about it, and it's how it's spreading people out. We talked about the pressure you just mentioned and how almost all lakes, with especially the influx of high school and college tournaments getting as big as they are, that's really put a lot more people on the water. Not complaining about it whatsoever, but yeah, everything's getting more and more pressured. But I think if there's any value to that technology that I'm liking is the spreading people out more. It gives the entire lake a possibility to be fished versus just the short lines or the high spots or the saddles or the points or whatever that's always been obvious to fish offshore on the bars. You know what I mean? But now it's like the entire lake, whether you're in the middle of the river. I mean, we went to Del Hollow there a couple years ago with a buddy, just trying to learn the scope, dude. And we pulled out 140 foot of water in the middle of the dang lake. And I was like, what is he doing? This was boat. And all of a sudden throw the minnow out there and started catching fish just dead in the middle of the lake. So I was like, the entire lake plays now. The entire lake. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure that anybody watches this wasn't like, man, he's anti forward facing, blah, blah, blah.
start calling you Randy Boggs.
Yeah, that right there is a value add that I noticed it. I don't even know this fella. I talked to him one time, but that Dustin Smith that did so good on the invitationals last year, what's now the pro circuit this year, qualified for the BPT. Don't even have it on his boat, I think. Fished out of the whole entire year. But it seemed like in all his videos, and I've watched some of them, ain't nobody around him ever. He's got everything he wants all to himself. And I've experienced that a little bit. And I dig it. It's cool. I don't think there's many as fresh fish coming because the fish that in the sanctuary are now getting caught or pestered or messed with.
Before
But
they
man,
get
it feels
there.
good. It feels good to go to a back of creek and be the only boat back there, man. It's awesome. Anyway, there we go. Get back to the topic.
No,
Back to
you dude, you're good. You are good. I
excuse
think
me.
and I think that's made shallow fishing harder because these fish are pestered before they get there
Yeah,
because
that's made it harder for
they've
sure.
not they've not seen a bait in forever. You know, you go to Kentucky Lake and those fish that pulled up in the bushes in April or May, whenever it was, like they've not seen a bait in 6 months
Right. Yeah,
because they've been out in the middle chasing shad, and now those fish are getting pestered, so it makes them a little bit harder to catch shallow. But
absolutely.
I completely agree with what you're saying that with scope, people are staying out in the middle a lot more. They're staying down lakes around the dams, on a lot of that offshore stuff, and it's freeing up some shallow water for guys like you that really know how to pick it apart, and that's their
And
deal.
maybe yeah, maybe for guys that means people just want to go fishing and it's just not like lined up down, Percy Priest especially, those community points that are so good for big bass. Man, try to get on one of those on Saturday. It's crazy. You can't do it. But now you can go bust a back out there during the week on the community spots. But on Saturday, it's just local people know about it too. It's not just tournament guys. It's hard to catch them on Saturdays when there's people out there when you don't have anything else to go on. But now you might be able to actually get a few of those holes because people are spread out.
Yep. No, I completely agree. Well, guys, you have learned if you paid attention right here, there's sure enough been some nuggets from a dude that has won a few $100,000 catching bass before. Uh, especially in this part of the world, but now he travels pretty good too and has caught him on the pro circuits. Follow Drew
It's a little
along.
bit.
Follow Drew along on the Facebook or the other things. Check him out. He will get some live coverage this year because I'll guarantee you he'll be in the top 10 on the pro circuit. Check it out.
Don't know
And
why, Ben, but I feel good. This year just feels something feels a little different. I think I had a little nerves, maybe a couple years, little I don't know, maybe just wasn't mentally there. But this year feels something feels bright about it.
well, right here, my man gonna win $100,000 this year. I'm gonna
Sure.
say it on January the 7th. My man Boggs gonna win him 100 grand this year, win him a pro circuit. So
And that's the beautiful part of editing. I guess we can come back and clip that out if I don't, right?
now we're gonna leave it in. It'll be all
You
right.
gonna leave it there? Yeah. Well, I love the confidence, the faith. I do feel good about it, man. I hope I can represent Middle Tennessee, represent my family, represent the Father, Lord Jesus Christ, and Fishing University, and make everybody happy, man.
There we go. Well, Drew's big thing is he's gonna fish a bank, and if you listen today, you can take it to the bank.
You can take it to the bank. Thank you, Ben.